you seen my kick-ass subscription box anywhere? Oh, there it is.
CTWE wrestler The Mac.
And I'm Showtime Stevie Stamos.
Have you ever dreamed of owning your own race car and taking it out for a test drive? Well, thanks to our friends that Rent a Race Car, you can!
Visit www.rentaracecarne.com for all the details on how you can take one of these babies out to Stafford Motor Speedway. We'll see you at the races.
Touchdown!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vidane's TV coverage of the SIM500 Esports Racing League. This is the Transervice Cup series presented by Transervice Transportation and Logistics Solutions. We welcome you to our coverage of the Transervice Cup. The preliminary preseason events are in the books, and tonight we take the wraps off the new Cup season with the Super Bowl of racing, the Daytona 500k. My name is Kevin England, and to my left is Tim Terry to help me with the call. In tonight's action, in the booth, we have Paul Showtime Strickland working the production booth. Welcome to the start of the 2021 Transervice Cup season, Tim.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. This is one of the premier fixed setup Cup series when it comes to iRacing, and we've seen some big names come through this series. We see some big names on the racetrack tonight. These drivers have qualified through pole qualifying, the dual races that they had last week, which you saw here on Vidane TV, and now we are getting ready to go racing for 300 miles, 500K. It's 120 laps. It is a marathon for most of these drivers, except maybe if you ran the iRacing Daytona 500 this weekend. But for most of these guys that run regular league races, this is a little bit of a extended distance race, Kevin. But we're getting ready to see these drivers go at it here in about a minute or so.
Yeah, drivers are finishing up warm-ups, getting ready to come to the grid. It's the start of a new season, fresh slate for everyone, and I did race at full 500 earlier this week, Tim, and it's a lot of work to run and keep your focus and concentration on this racetrack for the amount of laps we're going to run here tonight.
And especially with the stiff competition, but these drivers, for the most part, know each other. There are some familiar faces. There are some new faces that we've seen before. Guys like Byron Daly are in this series this year. It's hard to call Byron a rookie, a former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, but you see the talent that is through this series, and we're going to see all season long here on Vidane TV. I'm excited to get this going. Barney's waving the checkered flag on the happy hour session, and we will grid these drivers to get ready for 120 laps around Daytona.
Yeah, definitely a mix of new and old faces. We're going to see a lot of competition here tonight. Well, let's bring you the starting lineup. On the pole, Tyler Dalton in the number 19 starts first. On his outside, the 99 of Tommy Ryan.
Again, they qualified in through the pole qualifying, and then the rest of the drivers qualified their way or raced their way in, including row number 2, David Comstock in the 13, Eric Arnold in the 31.
Justin Fuller in the 51 starts fifth, outside row 3. Sixth starting spot for Kyle Traska in the 18.
Sim racing veteran Randy Yoakum will roll off from position number 7, Scott Simley on his outside.
John Bailey in the 1 starts 9th, and the 10th starting spot is the 95 of Joshua Williams.
Scott Stenzel going to start just outside the top 10 in 11th place. Nelson Rivera to his outside in the 22.
Chris Jibu in the number 6. He starts 13th, and Byron Daly starts on his outside in the number 33.
You got Mick Marsky in the next row with Thomas O'Leary, the 4th on the outside.
Nicholas Cohen in the number 21 starts 17th, outside row number 9. Richard Beasley in the tied number 10.
Fan favorite in the next row, E.J. O'Rourke in the 41, Kyle Brooks in the 71 to the outside.
Donnie Lee in the number 29 starts 21st, 22nd starting spot for number 9, Bobby Wetzel.
Brian Macklin in the 30 rolls off 23rd into the outside. The beautiful Transervice colors on that 44 as well. That's Glenn Cambell.
It'll be Nicholas Chambrone in the 02 starting 25th, 26th starting spot for the Richard Petty colors of the number 43, Doug Roth.
Joey Gattina and Jimmy Coleman are your next row.
Mike Mantesi in the 45, Chad Coleman in the 38 starts 30th.
Shane Ewing 31st and Kevin Brown in the 93 and 32nd.
Rounding out the field, Jeff Ryan, Timothy Johnson in the 28, Trey Edson in the number 5, Jose Gonzalez in the 26, Mike Kelly, watch for him in the number 2, he starts 37 tonight. Jason Barham in the 83, Chad Cole, not Coleman, in the 17, starts 39th, 40th starting spot for Josh Parker. Anthony Zabarro, the New Jersey driver, starts 27th in the number 27 and 41st. 42nd is Brian Cook, and Pedro Mojica in the 58 starts shotgun on the field here tonight. A full field of 43 drivers.
And they are climbing the bank in corner number 4 and down towards the start-finish line. We are getting ready to see green for the first time this season. In the Transervice Cup Series for SIM500, pace car is off. It's Tyler Dalton going to lead this field to green. The first race of the season is underway. And Kevin, 120 laps. Long way to run around here. We'll see who makes it to the end. If it's anything like the real Daytona 500, you're going to have to conserve your race car and be there at lap 120 when this thing has a checkered flag.
No doubt, as Dalton has the lead coming out of turn number 2 to the back straightaway for the first time. Good push on his back bumper coming from David Comstock. That early lead coming from the line on the bottom, getting lined up. But here comes the 99 to the outside with the charge. And it is a good run for Tommy Ryan in the Northern Equipment Camaro.
He'll have the 31 to give him a little bit of a push. That's Eric Arnold on the outside. Really haven't seen a third groove move yet, albeit one lap completed, and I think we're starting to see some of those drivers near the back of the pack, Kevin, start to get single file and kind of use that strategy to keep that car clean and don't get involved in any of the potential mess. We have seen the Super Speedway Series for SIM500 Verdane run here on Saturday evenings on Verdane TV, and for the most part, especially these last couple of races, have been relatively clean. A lot of those drivers race over here in the Transervice Cup Series, so they know each other not only from previous seasons here at SIM500, but also racing these super speedways, so they should know a thing or two about who to push and maybe the unpredictable and predictable moves that some of these drivers will make. But this time by Tyler Dalton will have that 13 right up his tailpipe. That is the 13 of David Comstock. They'll come across the stripe this time, and it'll be close for the lead. I think the 99 of Tommy Ryan might have it, though.
Might have been Dalton led lap number 1, Ryan led lap number 2. Is they're still side by side all the way back to about the 10th or 12th position. And Tim, this is one of those things you just talked about. It's survival. How do you play it? Do you run wide open, try to stay up front, out of the mess? Do you run by instinct? If it feels bad, jump out, or do you just hide in the back to the end? It's hard to say how to play this.
Do we see this race going 120 laps without a caution flag? I don't think we do. I think we do see a caution flag. If you play it safe and you play it in that second pack that kind of plays itself, 10, 12 seconds off the pace, whatever the case may be, I think that's a smart deal as Tyler Dalton leads this lap. But if we do get some green flag pit stops and things do get strung out, you risk yourself of losing the draft a little bit more. Those mistakes become costly on pit road. So there's plenty of ways to play this out, but the unknowns is how many cautions do we have and where do they fall in this race? Lap number 4 being run down the back straightaway, and for the first half of this draft, and it goes all the way back as you look back from the 13 of David Comstock, I think for the most part, except for Kevin Brown, who missed the start of this race, everybody is somewhat within touch, albeit, Kevin, a lot of them are single file as you look back.
Yeah, it has the makings of a calm start, which is a nice thing to see, a good way to get the season started. And, there was a little question, Tim, about driver availability. There's storms raging all across the United States. A lot of them are ice storms and people having problems with their connection. And it's good to see we have a pretty good field here. They were worried about some of the drivers not being able to make the call, but looks like we have a full field, full complement of drivers here for tonight's first race.
All 43 drivers that qualified are here this evening. I do see a couple of drivers missing from the Cup Series from previous years. I don't see A familiar name that we're used to in Adam Gilliland. I know he won a ton of races last year, contended for a championship. I know he was at the Daytona 500 himself, so maybe it's him traveling back and forth. But looking forward to see guys like that throughout the season. And we mentioned qualifying. It happened here last week, Kevin, on Vidane TV. There were some drivers that did not make this race. I believe, I could be wrong, but there's over 50 drivers that are signed up for this Transervice Cup Series. There's only 43 spots. There's bound to be some drivers that are disappointed.
58 drivers made their way onto the speedway for a shot at these 43 positions for tonight's race. And yeah, to your point, the top two winners that won almost half the races last season, Adam Gilliland and Daniel Falkenham, not in this event. We expect to see them coming in. And the defending Daytona champion, well, he's sitting right there in that mix, is the Glenn Cambell Transervice car. He won last year with Bobby Wetzel and Mike Kelly being the top three, and they're looking to see if he can get a Glenn Cambell back-to-back here at Daytona.
Glenn's got some work to do as you see him there in the middle of the pack, but there's still plenty of laps to get this thing done, Mr. Transervice, in that 44 in the middle of this pack, and I believe that may be Bobby Wetzel. We mentioned Bobby with that top three last year, Kevin. He's running right with him right now, and there's a driver that we're used to seeing in the Saturday night race in the Super Speedway Series. So he's got plenty of laps around these Super Speedways. He knows how to get himself to the front of the field. Do not count out Bobby Wetzel until that checkered flag falls as these drivers continue to move mid-pack. That's Jeff Ryan in the 3 to the outside. The 0 is Nick Chambrone. And you're going to see these drivers move throughout, but I kind of like this strategy back here. Kind of lay low a little bit and not get involved in any sort of mess. But this pack is 42 cars strong, Kevin, if you count all the way back to Pedro Mojica and Anthony DeBarro. But they're almost 5 seconds off the pace, but they're single file here.
Yeah, top mover so far is the 16th starting spot for 08 of Thomas O'Leary, the 4th. He's running right now in the 8th position. We have 3 wide for the lead out front as, well, they're going to try to go through that corner tough with Dalton to the outside. Got popped out. He's going to drop to the high line, and they'll go by him. He has no drafting help. They're still 2 by 2 by 2 through those first couple positions. I'm not sure if Dalton decided he wanted out of that mix or just got shuffled out. It's hard to say sometimes with the way things build and in the dynamics of the way the field runs.
Yeah, the 19 of Tyler Dalton not in the preferred groove right now, but still plenty of laps to get this thing done. He was down there with that 13 of David Comstock, and now Comstock going to go to the lead with Tommy Ryan still on that outside line. Talked to David a couple of moments before we came on air, Kevin, and I kind of joked. I said, well, if David's here, you know, you can kind of tell the rest of the field to go home. He said, don't expect that at a super speedway, and kind of tongue-in-cheek for Mr. Comstock, but running in position number 2, 3 right now, battling side by side with the 31 of Eric Arnold as the 99 of Tommy Ryan pulls down now to that inside line. Will allow that outside line to get a run. The 31 of Eric Arnold almost gets that spot, and it'll be Tommy Ryan leading lap number 9.
Yeah, these drivers have 2 things checked off on their to-do list. First one is they want to lead at halfway and get the stage points that they get for the season. 36 races in this series. Going to take us all the way to November before we crown ourselves a champion. The other thing, $100 on the line to win tonight. There's 4 races, 4 payouts this season: Daytona, Charlotte, Darlington, and Talladega, where you can get a $100 prize. And Tim, if you win 3 of those 4, it's another $100 payday.
So definitely want to set yourself up for success here at Daytona, but with Daytona and Talladega being a part of those 2 races, a couple of wild cards there, but you want to position yourself up near the front of the field. You see that car way off in the distance. You saw it off that shot on the front straightaway. That's Kevin Brown. Missed the start of this race. He is currently 43rd, and he's about to be a part of this lead draft, but we know his super speedway prowess. He won't be there for long, and he's going to be one of those hoping for a caution, Kevin, to get a free pass and get him back on the lead lap. But up in front, shoved down the back straightaway, the 99 of Tommy Ryan is going to go back to the lead. He's going to have that push from the 31 of Eric Arnold, and then he's going to abandon the 31 on that outside line. David Comstock back to the inside. And look at those personal comfort number 18 and 41 cars. Kyle Taraska, E.J. O'Rourke beginning to move their way towards the front.
Yeah, tuck nose and tails. You see these cars buffeting in the wind, and this is where a tenuous moment comes. You come across a car that's running a little bit slower, It's not in the draft. Brown sees the field coming, moves up high, signals to everybody go left, and hopefully the field will drive by without incident. But it is tenuous when you're a field approaching a slow car as to make sure you get by cleanly.
So there's the outside car about to be gobbled up by the field. There is Kevin Brown on your screen, and he will go one lap down. And actually, your top two from that outside able to get to the inside. Eric Arnold almost had second thoughts, and he's still having second and third and fourth thoughts coming out of turn number 4, trying to get down to that inside line. The 13 of David Comstock going to occupy that one. The 31 will have to fall back to Scott Simley in the 12, and Thomas O'Leary on that outside line. Nick Kohan also on the outside, and now Tommy Ryan kind of playing both lanes, goes to the outside and picks up the 31, allows the 13 to go to the inside, and David Comstock.
Still running door handle there for about the first 8-10 positions. We saw Kevin Brown. They went streaking by him, but at some point he picked up enough draft that he was able to tuck in, and he's right in about the 12th, 13th car in line there. He is the first car one lap down. If they have a caution, he'll be able to get a lucky dog and be able to return himself to the lead lap. And I think right now he's just kind of hang back. If you're one lap down, you get that dynamic, Tim, where you just kind of pace yourself. There's no reason to push. You're really not contesting these people. You're just waiting for that caution to put you back in touch with everybody else on the field.
Yeah, and we keep saying you've got plenty of time. There's lots of laps, but you still have over 100 laps to get it done. Just don't put yourself behind the 8 ball. You can put yourself around it. Just make sure you don't sink it in the pocket. You can see that draft in every car that is on this racetrack right now is in this lead draft, including Kevin Brown, who is one lap down. So still plenty of time for somebody to make a mistake, but there's a lot of respect being shown up here, especially at the front of this field with Tommy Ryan kind of moving and playing both lanes here. Eventually, when push comes to shove, that'll come back to bite him, Kevin, but right now I think everybody's kind of playing nice up front. David Comstock going to lead lap number 14.
You have not seen a lot of movement up front. Everybody just kind of content to ride. It's still early, 15 laps in, a lot of laps to go. And, there's another feather in the cap. If you get the win here, you're automatically in the playoffs. So every one of these drivers, the one thing about Daytona is it's an equalizer. We saw it with the real Daytona 500. Congrats to Michael McDowell. And, well, anybody has a shot to win here tonight, and a lot of them will look to see if they can lock themselves into that championship run later this season with a win here tonight at Daytona.
Get it done and get it out of the way early if you can, but it's easier said than done, especially at a racetrack like Daytona, and especially with the competition that we have there. How about the number 63 pulling up there? It's 53 on the scoring monitor. It's Boris Cook. You saw that bright, beautiful orange car there. He's made his way up from the back row in 42nd and already up here battling on that outside line within the top 10 or knocking on the door of the top 10. And great run so far. Has put himself in a position to battle for the lead. And talk about big movers. There's one right there on your screen.
Yeah, incredible. He must have just worked the draft right. Look and pick and choose all those different positions. It's a bit like a chess match. And to come from 42nd to 13th, that's a great run here early in the going.
The field works down out of the tri-oval. Lap number 17 being worked on the board. Continues to be the likes of David Comstock and Tommy Ryan leading the field up in front. But with everybody moving around, it's put Kyle Taraska on the back bumper of David Comstock. E.J. O'Rourke is there as well, and just in behind Nelson Rivera in the 22 on the inside line. Tyler Dalton, early leader, has fallen back to 5th on that inside line, just out of that shot there. But for the most part, those top 3 have been there since we dropped the green flag. Kyle Taraska qualified in 6th, hooked up with his teammate E.J. O'Rourke. And we know how potent E.J. O'Rourke can be on a super speedway. And right now, running within the top 10, he's showing his prowess early.
E.J. O'Rourke, hard charger. He races hard wherever he goes. He's always just wide open, showing a lot of decorum here early in the going, just kind of pacing himself. You have to wonder, Tim, if some of these drivers are looking at the fuel mileage. If you're out front, you're going to burn a little more fuel than everybody else. These drivers just in the middle of the mix can ease off the throttle, coast into the corner, pull up on that draft, and save themselves a little fuel.
And we're going to see, I believe, some green flag pit stops in this race. We've already gone 18 laps, and these drivers haven't shown any sign of, I don't want to say making a mistake, because these are some of the best fixed setup Cup Series drivers on iRacing, but they're kind of giving a little more than they're taking, per se, especially early in this race, and I haven't seen any of those missteps. So well on our way to the first round of green flag pit stops, and everybody, as you saw in that speed shot, still in this pack and still with a chance at being up front if something does happen in this Daytona 300 miler or 500k. And Tommy Ryan, Kevin, continues to work both lanes, and I'm impressed with the way he's able to do that. It might not be as much as he's working those lines as David Comstock and Eric Arnold are kind of allowing him to do that, but Tommy Ryan seems to be controlling this race early.
Yeah, a typical tactic is if you see a line coming up on the top getting a run, you just kind of pull up and get in front of it, and then it'll push you ahead, and then you see the inside line coming and you pull down, and that'll push you ahead. And saw a tenuous moment for Thomas O'Leary, the fourth, just a little bit ago, went into turn number 2. The car picked up a push going into the corner, went up. The good news for him, no one on his outside, had another lane to chase the car, pulled it right back down, and was able to keep it straight right behind the number 12. And that was a tense moment. You see these cars, like you said, moving around, and it may look a little more settled from the view that you have, but trust me, when you get the in-car feeling of that, the car really feels unstable.
You ride on board with Thomas O'Leary to the back bumper of that number 12 of Scott Simley on the outside. This is the fourth car on the outside of the pack. E.J. O'Rourke and Kyle Tarasca looking to the inside, right behind your leader of the last lap, David Comstock. And that outside line gets a little bit of a shove, or at least a two-car little tandem. And Tommy Ryan trying to get clear of that outside, or the inside line, can't seem to do it as we work out of corner number 4. And we'll see who ends up leading lap number 21. It looks like Tommy Ryan has a run. David Comstock back to the inside, and Tommy Ryan will end up leading that lap. And for the most part, everybody is kind of status quo with where they're running. A couple of drivers moving up. We mentioned Boris Cook moving up in that number 63 car. The 3 of Jeff Ryan was running about mid-pack, started 33rd. He's up there on that outside line. So it seems like most of these drivers that are working and starting to move up, at least in this stage of the race, the last 10 laps or so, are really doing it from that outside.
Yeah, we've not seen a distinct advantage for outside versus inside so far. Everybody's just kind of holding their own. They're able to go. What I'm interested to see is, where does the teammate factor come in? I look at Scott Stenzel, the personal comfort Camaro, number 63. He's running in the 16th position. And my guess is he would love to get up there with E.J. O'Rourke and Kyle Tarasca. I just assume, since they have a similar paint scheme, that they are teammates. And sometimes, Tim, that can play an advantage if you can get your teammate to hook up and help you out.
Absolutely, especially here at a racetrack like Daytona. And with the team aspect that these drivers do have this year, it's the Patriot Fire Team Challenge, I believe it is. Kevin, I'm sure you have a little more information on that, but these drivers do have teammates this season past their technical alliances that they would be working with on a regular basis. And there's a little bit more to fight for this year, and there's a little bit more incentive to work with your teammates. So that might help them a little bit, including guys like E.J. O'Rourke, Kyle Tarasca, and trying to get those personal comfort colors near the front of this field.
Yeah, and everybody has a goal coming out of Daytona, which is just get to the finish. That's job number 1. I mean, a lot of these drivers would love to win here tonight, but a lot of them do not want to start in a hole. And, you know, it's always a crapshoot when you come to Daytona as to whether or not you'll get caught up in the big one, especially when the field runs tighter. And as we get along this race, Tim, you know that they're going to get more push and shove going as they're going to run tighter. And yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in something that you never know how the dynamic of the race plays out.
And especially with this race that we have playing out here. 24 laps being run under the green flag since we dropped the green flag for this 500k, and I think these drivers anticipated green flag pit stops. I don't know if they anticipated green flag pit stops right off the hop of this race, but we're inching ever so close to seeing these drivers kind of peel off pit road. And you mentioned the pit strategy that may play out throughout this one, maybe save a little bit of fuel and try to undercut a little bit, but I think for the most part, all these drivers will pretty much be on the same strategy as Tommy Ryan. Kind of gets disconnected from that outside line. David Comstock kind of throws the Patriot Fire number 13 to the inside, and will continue to be side by side. But look at the push that E.J. O'Rourke gives to Kyle Tarasca through the tri-oval. It'll be David Comstock leading lap number 25. But now we start to see some more drivers begin to make their way towards front. And I'm impressed. Everybody that you just saw that speed shot still in the lead draft.
Yeah, it appears to me that at some point when they decide they're going to pit, they're going to get a little more single file. And, you know, as you look on your screen, every once in a while you might be able to see a yellow banner across the top. The racing bids, racing collectibles for race fan, racingbids.com, Rookie of the Year series. You have Tyler Dalton, Ryan Daly, Tommy Gossett, Elliot Henderson, and others in that mix. They will have markings on their car. They're trying to race for Rookie of the Year in this Transervice series. And these drivers also would love to do nothing better than to get a top finish coming out of the season opener.
I said it off the top of the show. It's hard to call Byron Daly a rookie, but he is a rookie to this series.
To this series,
yeah. And he's running 35th right now back there with a lot of familiar names. Josh Parker, Richard Beasley, Chad Coleman, Tim Johnston, Jose Gonzalez. So you got some big names. We mentioned this series is chock full of talent. Right now you've got big names that are running here in the front of this field, and you got drivers at the back that are also making their way. You start to see that outside line fizzle a little bit, though, up in front. Guys like Boris Cook have fallen off that outside. Jeff Ryan have fallen from that outside line. And now the outside line's only 4 cars. Maybe make it 5 if the 99 plays both of those lanes. But it's starting to fizzle a little bit. Maybe these drivers are starting to set up and try to find their groove and potentially look towards pit road here sooner rather than later.
I always find it a little tedious to run that outside lane. It's a lot easier to run the bottom and just hang on that yellow line. You tend to just lock on the car in front of you, try to maintain that buffer. And sometimes it's a little complicated to run that high side, or it could be that dynamic that we're talking about, that these drivers trying to get to the low lane in preparation for pit stops.
Try to get down there and try to get the first little nerves, I guess, out of this race to come down and get those pit stops done. We'll complete lap number 29 the next time by. And the outside line, it looks like there might have been one little shower of somebody blowing up here. I think the middle of the pack, Kevin, didn't get a number on it, but I did see a little bit of smoke, but I don't see anybody pulling out a line as of yet either. So that might have been off the side. But these drivers still learning what they can do with these fixed setups, and they had the experience in the Clash last week and the Duels last week, the Clash a couple of weeks ago. So they know these race cars. They know this competition. They know what they can and cannot do. They're at the point now, though. Let's ride to that first green flag pit stop. Let's get the nerves kind of shaken out of this thing, and then we'll see what we have from there. But that top line has definitely fizzled to 4 cars on the outside, and I believe that may be. Did Boris Cook get back up there to that outside line? Is that who I see up there?
Yeah, I see Scott Stencil and Boris Cook running side by side. They both have number 63 listed on their cars. But, you know, when that outside line opened up, Boris Cook, he just drove right up there. He sits in that 6th position right now, just like riding on the freeway, rode straight up and jumped on the back of those 2 cars sitting outside your leader.
Yeah, Thomas O'Leary was able to get to the inside, as was the 21 and Nick Kohan, as was the 13 and the 99. Had kind of been playing up there a little bit with Comstock and Tommy Ryan, but now the outside line's kind of fizzled. And even the inside line, to Kyle Tarasca, E.J. O'Rourke have kind of backed off this little pack and allowed some drivers to get up there. The 5 car is starting to work his way up. That's Trey Edson, Brian Macklin, 2 drivers, no stranger to working together. Macklin was a part of that rookie class last season and was able to climb near the top and scrounge and pick up a couple of good finishes. And now he's to the outside. First time we talked about him all night long in the top 10.
Yeah, Macklin, of course, won the season-ending race last year at Phoenix and comes in and wants to make it 2 in a row, carries the trophy from the last race. And yeah, I think these drivers, now the butterflies come for pit stops. They know they got to get through that first pit stop. It's so complicated. One of the dynamics, it's not hard to get off the racetrack, except when you're going with about 20 of your closest friends. But it's so hard to get in and find your pit stall here at Daytona.
But these drivers do have a little bit of experience from this week, at least, or the last couple of weeks leading in to this 500-kilometer race. So we'll see who blinks first, who breaks first, and who ends up really throwing off maybe the strategy in their race. A couple of drivers still working their way back to the inside. Boris Cook down to the inside, and now the outside line back to 4, and it's Brian Macklin, Trey Edson, Scott Simley, and the 31 of Arnold. It looks like Tommy Ryan up in front has found his way safely to the inside, but we'll see if he changes lanes at all. 33 laps being worked on the board, and every one of those drivers that started this race, all 43, still in this lead pack, albeit there's a lot of single file back there, as you can see off that shot going into 3.
Yeah, this Comstock Tommy Ryan combination has been pretty consistent up front. Ryan is content to ride Comstock right behind his bumper, not making a lot of contact with him, just staying right tight to him, making sure that they can keep that inside line organized. Pretty comfortable position for Ryan, just looking out the windshield. Every once in a while, he's going to give a glance up, look behind him, make sure things are straight, but his job is just focus right out front and keep that thing heading in the right direction.
And so far, so good. Mission accomplished for these drivers, as it's been a very entertaining first 34 laps of this race. And the Transervice Cup Series always puts on a great show. I'm very excited to see this full season. As 13-car Comstock looks like it got a little bit free. It looks like it almost got away from him down into corner number 3, but keeps that thing underneath him. They bypass pit road this time by complete lap number 34 on this racetrack. Now, Kevin, I know you have a lot more experience driving this Cup car and getting the fuel mileage out of it than I do, and Showtime Paul Strickland Jr. does, that's pushing our buttons tonight. 40 laps. Is it possible to go 40 laps and make this a 2-stop race if this thing, in theory, were to go green?
Yeah, when I raced the full 500 on Sunday morning at 5 a.m., Saturday morning, 5 a.m., I don't remember. I got up at 4 something to go run that race, and I think I got about 39, 40 laps, but I was running by myself in a lot of those, and hard to say what the mileage would be, but I think they might be able to get to 40 laps. We're not seeing anybody signal yet, and we are see some of those drivers, they're putting the gas to it. I see Trey Edson, a past champion here at SIM500. He's running in that 5th position right now. The 3rd car on the outside line has driven up in, and if I'm them, Tim, I want to be up in the front when you're going to go to pit road. I don't want to follow a big crowd in.
Yeah, I don't want to follow a big crowd, and I also don't want to lose a draft. So there's kind of that fine balance of what do you do, and aforementioned nerves about coming onto pit road, hitting your marks, making sure that you don't slide the tires, that you might have to change the tires that you weren't necessarily thinking about changing. But here comes the field off of corner number 4 and down across the line, and we'll start to see those drivers jockey for position, maybe look towards that inside line. There's a good shot of an empty pit road, because in the next couple laps that won't be there, as we'll see some drivers start heading towards there in just a few laps time.
Yeah, everybody's kind of settled in right now. I do see some of the drivers starting to get to that inside lane. We're getting to lap 40 is coming up, lap 37 right now. It's a good time to tell you, Facebook.com SIM500 Racing League is where you can watch the race, but you can also watch us on the Vidane TV channel on YouTube, live coverage there. And if you're on Facebook, give a shout, say hello. We'll chat with you. We want to see it as a couple drivers drop off, and it is pit stop time. You see your leader heading to pit road.
And for this pack, everybody is in clean. I believe there's some smoke on the racetrack, but we do stay green flag racing as the field works by. That is the Rhine machine coming in, and behind Thomas O'Leary, and right down to David Comstock and the Patriot Fire, number 13. Everybody still clean on this racetrack. Kevin, the 31 car, is your leader with Nick Kohan to the back bumper of Eric Arnold. Down the back straightaway, there is the pack. Field making their way down into turn number 4, and here comes the 31 of Arnold, going to lead the field down on the pit road, Kevin.
Yeah, Arnold made that left-hand turn down to 60 miles an hour. You don't want to speed here. You got to be really careful. He's going to go all the way down and try and find his pit stall. Out to the grass, then turn in and drive into the attention of their crew. They have an unlimited set of tires, but tire wear not that big of a factor here at Daytona. The track is smooth, wide, not that difficult. He is going to put right side tires on. Will they come around and change lefts? They will. 4-tire change for the Ford of Arnold, and he is full of gas and down and away.
And now we'll see where this pack decides to come down onto pit road as a couple of more drivers find their way out front. Kevin Brown and a lot more coming down into pit road. A few others staying out on the racetrack. Trey Edson, Brian Macklin among them, trying to get down to that 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. And Trey was close on that line coming down, and you can see everybody. It's traffic jam. Feeding time at the zoo on this lap as a lot of drivers coming down pit road. Chris Caboo still on the racetrack. Joey Bailey in the number 1 also still out on this racetrack, but they're going to come down pit road this time, and that'll complete 40 laps, and that would be the outskirts, Kevin, if this thing stays green, of doing it on 2 stops. Field works its way off of pit road, and we expect the final couple of cars to come down, and at the end they are 2 and 3 wide. Dalton gets out of line, half sideways, maybe a little bit of damage, but Kevin, they kept it straight.
Wow, that was a tense moment there on pit road as Jabu jumps into his pit box. He's going to go for service, and it looks like right side tires going on. And the interesting part here, Tim, is when they come back to the racetrack and the lead pack gets organized and collects all these cars, they're all running different speeds. They have to be really careful to pick up and meld together and not run over each other.
It is a fine line, and the first time in the season to do it, you really have to kind of shake it off a little bit. And if you're Tyler Dalton and you storm that line and almost got a little bit of damage, and you're gonna kind of got to put that thing behind you and work down. And so here's where the things get interesting. We had 43 cars, Kevin. They were all in a pack. Now they've come down pit road on 4 different laps and kind of broke everything up. I'm interested to see how many of these cars are back in this lead draft, because I think we're going to lose 1 or 2. It's just a matter of who was performing on pit road and who might have had those mistakes.
It's 120 laps the distance. Some of them made it to lap 40, which means they might be able to split this race into a couple stops, barring any cautions. But I just anticipate that sooner or later we're going to start mixing it up. These drivers are going to be elbows up, as it is Trey Edson, the on-site's gas system Camaro, picking up the lead. He's running right there with Brian Macklin to his bumper, and right alongside of them is the 93 of Kevin Brown. Brown still 1 lap down as far as I know, and looking to see if he can get his lap back the old-fashioned way. In fact, right now, as he sits out in front of this pack, he is tail end of the lead lap.
Yeah, Kevin Brown wants a caution and wants to make sure that he is not the caution flag. But the 93, after missing the start of this race, Kevin Brown is now in front and in position to be the free pass. But the great thing about this is we love competition. Jeff Ryan must have had some sort of issue on pit road, Kevin. He is ahead of the pack in the middle of 1 and 2 right now as the pack gets ready to enter turn number 1. So it'll take a couple laps for this pack to catch the 3 car. You can see it right there on the speed shot. Still plenty of time to catch them. But if that does happen, Randy Yoakum's not too far ahead of the number 3. So there's a couple of cars that had issues on pit road that if this thing all kind of accordions back together, we could very well have a battle for the free pass spot.
And where Jeff Ryan found his problems, the 99 of Tommy Ryan did not. He's running fourth right now. Good, clean pit stop for him. That's always a measure of when you're running up front. If you can get in, get your service, get back out, good on, good pit road, good off, and blend back in and ended up back in that pack. It's a pretty good run so far for Tommy Ryan. Strong run for that Northern Tool Equipment Camaro.
Yeah, he's been able to control both lines, run up front. Now, albeit this is the first time he's really been in traffic all night long, but still within the top 5 and still has Eric Arnold on his back bumper as David Comstock leads him down the back straightaway. First round of green flag pit stops have been completed. 1/3 distance in this race, and it continues to be familiar faces up in front. This time by the 44th lap will be completed. And David Comstock now has company in the 5. Trey heads into the outside, side by side across the line. Give it to Comstock.
Comstock leads him off to turn number 1. New name in that top 10, Jason Barron, in that kick-ass beef jerky Camaro. Sitting back there, 4th car in line, the outside, as they come off of turn number 2. Slow car on the back straightaway. Hopefully everybody's got the signal. Everybody kind of lined up, still trying to come up to that car. The car sits up in that high line, giving opportunity for them to go past low. It is so tricky to catch a car here in the position off of turn number 4. Edson tries to pick up a little bit of a draft, but to literally catch the 3 car in the tri-oval, trickiest part on the racetrack, Tim.
Absolutely, and they did a great job getting around that 3 car. And the great thing about these green flag pit stops, Kevin, it's kind of shuffled this field up a little bit. Haven't really talked a whole lot about Jason Barham. The 83 car is in the top 10 now. He's to the outside, in the outside row, about 4 back. And Chris Cabot right behind him to the outside. And there's 2 drivers that have been a part of the Verdane Super Speedway Series with SIM500 on the Saturday night program that we have for you here on Verdane TV. And they're obviously showing their Super Speedway prowess right now. We mentioned Byron Daly running near the back of the pack and kind of conserving his race car. Not anymore. The 33 car is up on the outside line. He's back in the top 10. It's got Jose Gonzalez in the 26 up here in the top 10 as well. There's some drivers that we haven't really talked about all night long that maybe not by design to put themselves up here. They were riding early in the race, but now that the pack that was 43 is a couple of packs and a couple of cars that are kind of scattered around this Daytona International Speedway. So there's some strategy that has been changed. You look at Justin Fuller on your screen in the 51 car, and then you look back here to what is the second pack that has formed with the 17 car of Chad Cole leading this thing around.
And you have now a new dynamic, a race within a race, as the 93 of Kevin Brown sitting there. He is not on the lead lap, even though he's in that second position. He's 1 lap down. And when they passed the number 3 car of Jeff Ryan, that created a second car 1 lap down. So those 2 are racing for the lucky dog, and they're right up there in the mix. If I am the 3 car, I'm going to try and do whatever I can to get up there in front of that 93 should we draw a caution. And they're about to enter another car into that mix as the 8 of Randy Yoakum about to be taken up by the field here as they come off of turn 4.
And the only other car that's kind of running by himself right now is Jimmy Coleman in the 11 car. He's by himself in the back straightaway. Still plenty of time for this field to catch him. And then we get back to 2 packs. We've got this pack that is up in front with a couple of lap cars. There are 17 lead lap cars in this pack, plus the 8 of Randy Yoakum, who we just saw fall to the back of the pack. Almost a little bit of an issue there with the 3 of Jeff Ryan, who is also fighting for what would be the free pass spot. And then you got that second pack, and we kind of saw it there for a moment. It's on our screen right now. That is Joey Gattina, Chad Cole, Tyler Dalton, Chad Coleman, Thomas O'Leary was running up front early. The 45 is back here as well of Matesi. These guys are about 7 seconds behind. They're actually losing a little bit of time to that first pack, Kevin, albeit by tenths of seconds a lap, but there's still plenty of time to make this work. But now instead of having 1 pack of 43, we've got a pack of about 20 and then a pack of about 20-ish in between here, working around this Daytona International Speedway. So the race within the race in front with those lead lap cars and the lap down cars for the free pass, and then we got 2 races within a race. So you can see that pack that's just entering turn 3, and then you got the pack that is on the back straightaway. This pack is losing a little bit of ground, but there's still plenty of time to make it back.
You have to wonder if that second group is asking themselves if they should get organized, get in line to see if they can chase it down. Usually when they run side by side, they can't run as fast as if they had, kind of got nose to tail with it. Joey Jattina, he's on the outside trying to get pushed ahead by Tyler Dalton. We know Dalton and Dutton, the law firm, the two of them have run so fast at every event that we see them coming. It's kind of unusual to see Dalton back here in this mix. I see the 17 of Chad Cole. Looks to me when they went by that the back of that car may have had some little bit of damage on that Ford Mustang.
Yeah, I think the 17 does have a little bit of damage, but I don't think it's going to hinder him a whole lot, at least right now at this point, running near the front. Oh, the pack as they come out of corner number 4. Looks like a little bit of smoke, a little bit of nothing major up there in the front of the pack. Might have been a little bit of somebody losing temporary connection to the server. Scared me a little bit, Kevin, but I think everything is status quo as the outside line. Brian Macklin has been leading the last couple laps here with Trey Edson to his back bumper. Kevin Brown to the inside, trying to either get the free pass spot if there is a caution flag come out, or maintain a lead lap spot, depending where the caution flag, if it were to come out, comes out. And there goes Macklin down to the inside. That was a close call.
Yeah, I'll tell you that second pack did get single file, a lot of them, and boy, what a scare over there in turn number 3. I saw, looking through the binoculars, Mike Montesi sideways, completely sideways, off the corner there. The car broke loose going on entry, and a great job by Nicholas Cohen in that CJAuto21.com Toyota to not run him over. Got on the binders hard, was able to get the car checked up, allow Montesi to gather that number 45 back up, and no harm, no foul. They continue on as I think maybe they heard me, because that second group did get a little more organized to be single file.
But they haven't made a whole lot of time. Oh, trouble! Tommy Rhines, save it, 99 car, almost around, and he's gone. The 99 car around into turn number 4, no caution as of yet. We got one more round on the apron. We stay green flag racing because they all wrecked to the inside. I believe that might have been the Simley machine potentially, but that was big. No yellow.
Yeah, and we got more action coming through. The try over here is one car down on the apron, but they continue to stay under green here as the field streaks by. Wow, that's about as close as you get without having the actual incident. What a tough break for the 99, who's had a strong run all night long.
Yeah, that was an accident. The only thing we didn't see is a caution flag, and Simley was involved, but the car down to the inside with the heavy damage was Nelson Rivera in the 22 car, the Penske-looking car that was to the inside. So at least 3 cars with heavy damage, including, I believe, Tommy Ryan, but I don't know how much damage per se Tommy Ryan got, as much as he lost the draft at the back of the pack and now trying to work his way back up. But up in front continues to be Brian Macklin leading. You ride on board with the second driver in line as they come around this racetrack. That is the second place driver. Yellow flag is now out on the speedway, so that will slow the field down. And looks like we got a little more smoke down the back straightaway, Kevin.
Yeah, I think some of these cars did take a little bit of damage there. And I see the 22 of Nelson Rivera. He was able to get his car going again. He's running slow around the apron here, as right in front of him is the car that's smoking. It is the 12, the teammate, Scott Simley. That car possibly blowing up as he crosses the cone and heads to pit road to see if his crew can possibly patch up that Verizon number 12.
The caution is for Josh Williams in the 95 car and the 19 Tyler Dalton, bringing out the first yellow flag, and multi-car incident on the front straightaway. But we'll send it down to Paul Strickland Jr. for a replay. But Paul, we kind of had this conversation last week with the RBR series that we covered here. I'm kind of so we're somewhat mystified sometimes of how the sim throws yellow flags, and I don't know how they didn't throw a yellow on the first one, but this one throws a yellow. Down to you.
Yeah, we'll take a quick look at it. We'll take a couple of quick looks at it here. You can see the 95 gets completely turned around, but nope, saves it. Everything pointed up, gets spun around there again. So down below the racing groove, not up on the racetrack. You see the 0 involved as well. The 95 getting sent on down below that yellow line. So tough break for those guys, but it's one of those deals where we see it in iRacing quite a bit. It's tough to tell exactly where they kind of throw the caution flag or how they determine whether the caution's going to come out or not. Because you can see all these drivers were down below the double yellow, all well away from the racing groove. And we saw that last mishap a few laps ago, man, with Tommy Ryan, the 99, just really a lot of cars involved and a lot of cars that were up on the track. So it's kind of difficult to kind of tell with iRacing when the caution's going to get thrown, but you can see here the 95 getting shot down there on the exit of pit road. And speaking of pit road, looks like pit road's going to be a pretty busy place here.
You see just about the entire field coming in, most of them getting their service and coming away. As I was watching the Joshua Williams number 95 go in and get service. Good job by Joshua to hold that car down, Tim. It's not easy to control the car when it's down on the pavement, especially when it gets to the grass. Quite lucky for a lot of those drivers that he didn't come back out onto the racetrack.
And that's a great shot there of Tommy Ryan's number 99. And looking at that race car, at least from this vantage point, I don't see a whole lot of damage on that race car. So that might be a blessing in disguise for the Northern Tool and Equipment number 99 team after having their mishap. But the good news is, Kevin, is that they still have a race car. The bad news is that they don't have the track position to make it happen. And it looks like they are fixing and repairing some damage to that race car. So it appears to be we will have 40 cars scored on the lead lap, or at least at this point, not sure who may or may not be out of the race due to that accident, but everybody that is still in the session that started this race is still on the racetrack, so that's always a good sign.
Yeah, 3 drivers right now scored 1 lap down, and of course our lucky dog goes to the 93 of Kevin Brown. He's going to find himself the beneficiary of that caution. First caution, lap number 55 for an incident where the 95 got turned sideways, the 0, and the 96 got involved in it, but I don't see a lot of damage to these cars, Tim, and if the car is only damaged on the back, chances are it'll still do pretty well in the draft.
We saw that with Chad Cole a little bit earlier on with the 17 car. He was able to get that second draft and stay up front in that second draft, but up in front, it is Nick Kohan leading the field, Shane Ewing, Anthony DeBarro, Brian Macklin, Chris Cabot, your top 5. Want to say hello to Pat Healy, who's tuned in, our friend from the Laker News. Him and Asha are watching the season opener for the SIM500 Transervice Cup Series. So want to say hello to Pat and hope he's enjoying tonight's coverage, round number 1 of the Transervice Cup Series, this Daytona 500k. As the field is shaped up behind the pace car, double file. And Kevin, we're going to get ready to go back to green next time by working and completing the first caution of the race, just shy of halfway.
Lights are out on the pace car as the field rolls down the backstretch, getting prepared for the restart. This is where the drivers kind of assess how has the race gone so far. Have I been able to get the moves that I want? How does the car feel? How does the car turn into the corner? Is the car driving well off the corner? While it's a fixed setup, everybody's driving style changes as you get used to the dynamics of the racetrack in this configuration. And so far, it's been a pretty clean and comfortable race. It's 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temp is 96 degrees, partly cloudy, low winds. So these drivers have the perfect Chamber of Commerce weather here at Daytona as the pace car just about to turn left and turn the field over to Nicholas Cohen in the CJAuto21.com Toyota. He is looking at the pace car and now looking at the starter. Starter has a green flag in hand, and he's going to kick the throttle. Head off to turn number 1. He's got the 32 to his outside. Rayovac power in that number 32 with the charge to the outside. How about it, Tim? Good restart for these drivers with Macklin. Good push to the outside lane.
Great start on that outside lane, and we'll We'll see how this plays out. Take a lap or so to try to figure out who is where and who is going to be working with who. Still some familiar names up in front from that first run, including David Comstock in that 13. Brian Macklin is up there in the 30. The pit stops have kind of cycled a couple of drivers out, including Trey Edson in the 5. Byron Daly, they're about mid-pack right now, just outside the top 15 as these drivers race off of corner number 4. They'll come by to complete lap number 59. So next time by the stripe, we'll be halfway in race number 1 for the Transervice Cup Series. And we start to see some drivers making some moves, working with different drivers. You see the outside line with Shane Ewing having pushed from Brian Macklin. Macklin's got a familiar friend behind him in Justin Fuller. And in behind them, you got David Comstock and Chad Coleman up to the outside. So some familiar names, maybe in some different places than they were on that first green flag run, but they're still learning to work with each other. Kohan and Anthony DeBarro working that inside line down into corner number 3.
Yeah, that top group looks pretty settled right now as these drivers come across, and they're going to pick up bonus points this lap by Kohan in the 31, or the 21 is going to lead the charge to pick those up. The 32, the 27, the 30, the 6, the 51, and well, you know, the others up through to that top 10 to Chad Coleman in the 38. Picking up some bonus points here as these drivers now starts to sink in halfway through. And what's going to happen when it gets time to race for the $100 victory money on the line here tonight is I think business is about to pick up.
Yeah, indeed it is. You start to get to the end of these races, and we saw it last week with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, where the give and the take level, the take level becomes a little bit more at the end than the give level does. And you start to see, I don't want to say the respect go out the window, but you might not cut a driver a break on lap 95, 105, 115 than you would on lap 5 or 15 or 25. We're at the point of that the race now where you start to try to figure out who your dancing partners are. You know you've got, if this thing does go green to the end, you got one more round of green flag pit stops, and the 32 said that's enough. He's going to the back of the field. That is Shane Ewing. He'll fall back. I believe there's one more car on that inside line also going towards the back. But this kind of has the feel of the first run into it a little bit, Kevin, as you start to see those drivers fall to the back. We've got 39 drivers that are in this lead pack that are on the lead lap. Plus, you got Randy Yoakum at the back here. We've only got 3 cars that are multiple laps down. 2 of them are on pit road in Simley and Rivera. Boris Cook is pulling back onto the speedway right now. He is 5 laps behind the pace. But 41 drivers that are on the racetrack, and 40 of them are in this lead draft.
Yeah, tough start for the Verizon team of Simley and Rivera. They are going to drop out of this. They're going to turn it over to the number 2 and see if Mike Kelly, who has made his first appearance in the top 10 tonight, he's currently up there at about the 7th or 8th position, and also an appearance by Jose Gonzalez. You can't miss the Goya colors as he's down there. And wow, I'll tell you, that was a close moment there for Macklin coming down on the number 6 right to the door, but able to negotiate well as they came out of turn number 4.
Boris Cook will pull that number 53 back down onto pit road, or 63 back down onto pit road. So we still have 40 cars in this racetrack, and they are all in this lead draft right now as we continue to work by. There's Kohan going to the back via the outside line, and he'll lose a couple of spots, and it will hand the lead over to Justin Fuller. Fuller in the 51, David Comstock in the 13. And here comes Jose Gonzalez on the outside with a little help from the Transervice number 30, Brian Macklin, and they work by. There's that number 9 of Bobby Wetzel we talked about earlier. He's got, the 6 car of Gabo in front of this field. What a save. They scatter 3 wide. I was about to say Bobby Wetzel and Glenn Cambell have found their way towards the front, but they almost found their way into calamity because they would have been right on top of that.
Yeah, and I'm watching Nicholas Cohen in the 21. He's dropping out to the back. He has come back to the 18th, 19th position. Cars are streaking by, and I guess he just didn't like what he saw up there. And I don't blame him. It's starting to get a little nervous. Boy, sometimes you have to say, how thankful you are that the banking brings you down to the apron, which sometimes puts the car back straight. As that was almost a moment over there in turn number 4.
We've got a moment. It's the 26 of Jose Gonzalez on the apron after being up in front. We are still green. I don't know how we are, Kevin, because we should have wadded up about 15 cars right there. Gonzalez gets back on the racetrack. There was 3 or 4 cars down on the apron along with that 26, and we're still green. We talk about the talent level in this one. The 13 of Comstock, the 51 of Fuller were among them there. You'll take a look at it here on the replay. But, Kevin, I don't know how we're still green.
Yeah, it beats me. I saw the 26 down there on the apron. He got sideswiped, was down in the grass, and still was able to keep the car down on the flat of the racetrack, and then gently just brought it back up. Everybody good heads up driving, seeing that car. Maybe that bright yellow helped the situation as we remain green here. I could have swore that would have been caution.
Yeah, the 51 of Justin Fuller and Jose Gonzalez, where you saw it on that replay, were the initial contact in that. But what was a lead draft, Kevin, is now a broken up freight train, I guess. There's a couple of cars here. There's a couple of cars there. They're all single file. I think if they continue to run this way, the accordion will come back together. It might take us 2 or 3 laps, but you look at this battle right here. This is around Justin Fuller and Glenn Cambell and the 2 of Mike Kelly. This is kind of the second pack that's probably going to gobble up those 6 in front of them, led by Brian Macklin. So if this pack gobbles up the 1 in front of it, that'll probably put us back essentially to what was a lead draft. Because if you look back in behind, there's another single file freight train, another freight train behind that. The accordion is starting to already come back together.
Yeah, riding on board with the in-car from David Comstock in the number 13, the back of that Camaro, the Patriot Fire car, smashed in, but he's able to keep speed. He's got a fast car in the number 2 right behind him of Mike Kelly's 2.5 seconds off the 6th place car. We'll see whether or not he can tighten that gap up and bring these guys back to that lead pack. Good opportunity for those first 6 to see if they can sneak away.
It's a good opportunity, and right now it's kind of been about status quo between the first and the second pack, but these guys in the second pack are getting busy. Justin Fuller wants to get back to the front of the field. I don't know if you've ever raced with Justin Fuller, Kevin, but you get the mentality. He's got that mentality of a pit bull. Yeah, you just poke the dog, and you're kind of waiting for it to growl a little bit, and potentially try to get it to bite you. And I think with Justin Fuller, he's definitely fired up right now. But with them being double file, they've got more cars here that they're probably going to gobble up those 6 in front of them, and it might take them a couple laps to get there. But Fuller, you better believe, is hot under the collar. He's got the 63 of Stenzel up there. He's got the 41 of E.J. O'Rourke. He's got David Comstock now to his back bumper. These guys mean business. We're going to come by this time and complete lap 69.
Yeah, what they see is that lead group slipping away as the time has dropped. They were 2.5 seconds to start. Now they're 3 seconds back, but the 51 of Fuller has assumed command of this pack. Maybe his car will run faster out front than the 13, but he's got E.J. O'Rourke to the outside. And yeah, if these guys don't get single file, they're not going to be able to catch that group up there if they're not going to get organized.
And we're going to take a look at Kevin Brown, who's currently wheeling his race car. And you can follow him on Twitch. He is to the outside of Chad Coleman. This is the second pack, or I don't want to say lead draft because the leader's not here, Kevin. But Kevin Brown has had a tale of 2 races, spent most of this race on the tail end of the lead lap after missing the start, and now he's back on the lead lap. There's that 6 way up in front on the in-car picture, the ambient picture per se, and he's got some work cut out for him, but he's in the playoffs. He's battling for the belt on Saturday night for the Verdane SIM500 Super Speedway Series. Knows his way around a draft and doing a great job right now in that 93.
Yeah, cool shot, and from that you can see how much these cars move around. And one of the things we have not talked about, Tim, is how much you can see out the windshield. You're looking at the car in front of you, but that's about all you can see, especially when you're about 6, 8, 10 cars deep. You really can't tell what's going on up there. And Yeah, sometimes you just have to have trust in your fellow sim racers that they're heading in the right direction. That's why it's so easy to get into trouble at these plate tracks. Speaking of trouble, yellow out on the speedway here, lap 72.
And we've got Mike Montesi in the grass in the front straightaway, and that will probably be the he's not the reason why the caution came out. I believe the 44 in front of them was sideways, and it started around that car, Paul, as we'll bring up the replay. The 44, he didn't start there, but I think it finished there.
Yeah, we actually see, as we're rewinding the tapes here on the Vidane.shop instant replay, it looks like it started up front with the two-car of Mike Kelly you made mention. You can see in on the inside here of Kevin Brown, that's Kevin DeBrown on Twitch, pops a motor. You see the black smoke coming out of the back of that car, pops a motor, the 44. Everybody else trying to check up, trying to get slowed up, but unfortunately nowhere for these drivers to go here at Daytona, and we see stuff like this happen all the time on these plate track races. It's a tragic thing where there's really nowhere for anybody to go. You can see Chad Coleman right in the back bumper almost as that motor blows, and everybody kind of checks up, gives him room, tries to give him room, and unfortunately a couple of drivers going for the same piece of real estate at the same time. Glenn Cambell, one of the big recipients of some damage here, and it looks like he's actually going to sit on pit road and try and get that thing worked on just a little bit. But a lot of cars here seems to be kind of going through the grass a little bit. There you see Richard Beasley kind of beelining for the pavement, trying to get the heck out of Dodge over there. The one good thing here, guys, is that we didn't get any kind of rain on iRacing, so we're not going to be tearing up too many race cars going through the grass here. A lot of these guys, some heads-up driving, avoiding wrecks, avoiding collisions.
Some of these drivers, Tim, took evasive action going through pit road. You have to wonder if they're going to get called on some of those penalties. In my race, I dipped down below the yellow line to avoid somebody crashing and ended up getting a stop-and-go penalty. So we'll have to see if we see any of the drivers heading to pit road after the restart to serve a penalty. But, yep, tore up a handful of cars there as just about everybody, I think, pulled away. But the worst damage looks to be the 44 of last year's winner, Glenn Cambell. The back of that car, the TV panel is missing, and he's sitting down there right now as a crew trying to fix the Transervice number 44.
Another one of the Transervice cars, though, is up in front, and Brian Macklin came down pit road, was able to get his service and back out in front of this field. Joey Bailey, we haven't talked a whole lot about Joey. Had a great qualifying effort, qualified 9th. He's up to the, will be the outside of the front row in that number 1 car. Great to see him up there having a great run, and then in behind, you got some familiar names, and Bobby Wetzel, Kyle Taraska, and Eric Arnold being your top 5, and Kevin Brown, I believe, is in that mix as well, as you see him pacing in behind. Justin Fuller in the 51. We talked earlier about not wanting to poke the bear, but now Fuller in the 51 car has that reprieve, has that caution flag, and now currently sitting in position number 5, has an opportunity to get back up here. We're in the second half of this race. 74 laps will be completed when we go back to green, so less than 50 laps to go, Kevin. This is not, I don't want to say go time, because they still have one more pit stop to make. They can't make it from here on fuel, but it's that time where that take starts to get a little more, and there's not a whole lot of give left, but there's still plenty of time to make moves and make things happen.
Yeah, for sure. These drivers now trying to reset their mindset as to what they got to do to get to the finish here. See a couple drivers just beating the pace car out, a la Cole Trickle, as they head out to go collect the back of the field, and everybody kind of taking a collective breath. Saw quite a few cars sliding through the grass, get contact, some to the outside fall. And as we watch the cars go by here, dings and damages to several of the cars. We'll see whether or not this dynamic changes, Tim, when some of the cars are slower, and when you come back to green, you just got to pick and choose your way through to make sure you don't run somebody over. Cautions breed cautions.
The first couple of restarts, or the start and the restart as we complete our second caution period of the evening, have been fairly good. There's been a lot of respect between these drivers, and I think we're going to get ready to see it here again Brian Macklin chooses the outside. He's got a teammate in Ernest and Kyle Tarasca to the outside, so I see why he did that. Joey Bailey to the inside, Bobby Wetzel to the inside, and then Justin Fuller is back there as well, but don't expect him to be back there for long. Green flag flies. We're back underway. 74 laps completed in this season opener for the Transervice Cup Series for Sim 500, and Brian Macklin will lead this train down to corner number 1.
Yeah, it's good to see Joey Bailey up there having a good run in the UPS Ford. He's running there second in line on the inside. Haven't called his name that much. And, well, how about Kevin Brown? Had run one lap down all the way through most of this race. Now he sits there in that second position, at least as they run on the track. And, yep, he got abandoned, but he's leading that outside lane and having a good race here as the laps are ticking off.
Get the 63 of Stenzel up there on the outside. Get the 6 of Gabo. Doug Roth is up here in the top 10. You see that STP colored car to the inside. He's about 6th in line, battling for a top 10 position. And now we'll see what the outside line can do and see if we start to see any 3-wide racing. That sense of urgency that we typically see near the end of the race, we haven't seen all night long. We saw a couple of flashes of brilliance of a 3-wide move, but not anything that really was able to sustain it. Up in front, Kevin is Kevin Brown to the outside, leading that outside train, but nothing really doing other than that. They kind of fall back a little bit down the straightaway.
If you're just joining us, 76 laps in the books. It's been an exciting race all the way through. Tommy Ryan was our early leader, and we've seen a good mix of drivers come up to the front as Tommy Ryan making a good recovery back up to the 9th position after troubles early. The 93 got the lucky dog, and the last time around was the 19 of Tyler Dalton coming back to the lead lap. He's back in the back of the pack, but we expect to see him come forward as this inside line seems to be more organized and moving forward. Kevin Brown trying to see if he can get some help from that number 6 of Chris Gibu as, yeah, they're not so tight there on the outside that they can come forward.
And there goes Jeff Ryan to the back of this pack. He was 1 lap down. I believe this should put him a 2nd lap behind the pace. So a tough night for Jeff Ryan after running so well in the first portion of that green flag run prior to pit stops this evening at the Sim 500 Transervice Cup Series season. Brian Macklin continues to lead up in front, and we saw it earlier with Tommy Ryan trying to play both lanes, and I think Ryan tried to do that there, and the inside line, Kyle Tarasca said, "Nuh-uh, not going to happen, sir," and now Macklin gets a push from Kevin Brown. Gabo right behind him, and now we're starting to see the 2-line strategy work. I'm interested to see when somebody decides to pull that trigger and try to make it 3.
Yeah, you know, in the shot, every once in a while you see a little puff of smoke when the cars have a connection problem. They don't render well. That's kind of a warning to the rest of the drivers that the car in front of you is having a little bit of a connection issue. And we see quite a bit of smoke here out of the first couple cars in that pack. It's so distracting, but after a while you learn to ignore it. But I see a couple drivers just kind of hanging off the back of this lead pack. They're running side by side, all the way back to about the 12th, 13th position, but sitting right behind him, Dale Brooks in the 71 having a good race. Joey Jatina, his back end is wrinkled a little bit in his Camaro, but he's kind of running single file. And I don't know, Tim, when I run these races, it's so tedious sometimes as they move past the number 5 to run so tight in that top group that I like to sit back a little bit. You can watch what's developing. You know, everybody has a different mindset about how to run these races.
And especially where the caution flag flew with less than 50 laps to go, knowing you can go about 40 laps on fuel. The fuel window is technically on the outskirts of being open if there's no green-white checker finishes. But where do you come down? Do you expect this thing to play out green? Do you expect a couple of caution flags? There's a bunch of unknowns here to come in these next 40 laps of competition. I do like that strategy, Kevin. I like running about, let's say we're Richard Beasley, Josh Parker, and those guys are running kind of single file around 26th place, still within the draft, but further back that if something does happen up here if somebody makes a mistake, they can avoid it and still have a clean race car. But you don't want to employ that strategy, 20 laps down the road. You kind of start thinking, well, when do I push to the front? But when do I come down pit road? So there's going to be a little bit of different strategies, different pit calls, and this is going to play out fairly well, I think, for somebody. But we'll see who ends up coming out with the top spot. There's the 44, Glenn Cambell, heavily damaged from that last wreck. Kyle Taraska leads the field at corner number 4 with the 30 of Macklin pulling up back even.
Yeah, we've passed lap 80, the 2/3 part. These drivers now understanding that we're getting to the latter half of this race, and you have to wonder when go time is. Some drivers will look at that and say, with 20 laps to go, I need to be up there. Some of them will say, I'm going to wait till 5 to go. I'm kind of surprised, where do we see some of these drivers that we typically find? EJ O'Rourke running right now in the 14th position. He's usually in the top 3 by this point of the race.
And right to the outside of him, David Comstock dominated early, led a bunch of laps in this one, 17 so far in this race. He's still in contention. He's far from being out of it, but he's taken another role rather than being up in front and kind of controlling the top 3 or 4 spots to being back in behind here, and that's Donnie Leah in front of him. And Donnie's been a part of this Cup Series before, but I believe this is his first full-time foray into this Cup Series in the Transervice Series for SIM500. He's run a bunch of series here before. He's been a part of various eNASCAR series during the off-season, the pandemic season that we had, and former winner in the Truck Series, modified winner. List goes on and on. Great to see Donnie here with us on Monday nights, and well within contention of winning this season opener for the Transervice Cup Series. They come off of corner number 4. They'll complete 83 laps this time by, and up in front, it continues to be Taraska and Macklin.
Yeah, give a call to Pedro Mojica, running in the 17th position right now. The V Performance Academy Camaro just kind of hanging off the back. He started last, shotgun on the field. Car looks clean as a whistle. And, Pedro, he's been around a long time. Pretty savvy driver, knows how to get the job done. And he tends to find his way up to the front, Tim, at the end of these races. And he's just kind of positioning himself. He's one of those chess players.
Pedro knows how to get himself to the front and put himself in a position to win. And you look around him right now, the 0 car in front of him's got a little bit of damage. Chambron's got a little damage to the back end. In behind him, you got to see a couple of cars. The 14 of Joey Catina's kind of got a little crinkle in the right rear. And that 58 car looks fairly clean, at least from this vantage point. But they're all still within the draft. There's Jason Barham going a lot down to the 83 car to the outside. So he's 1 lap down to the 33rd now. But these drivers still have plenty of time to make moves. 30 drivers that are in this lead draft all the way back to Tim Johnston in the 28 car. Still in contention on the lead lap and in this lead draft. 2 drivers that have fallen off, Nick Kohan and Mike Matesi. They were involved in some crash damage earlier tonight in one of the recent caution flags. Then everybody else 1 or more laps down as they come off of corner number 4. 85 laps completed here.
Yeah, it feels like it's still anybody's race here. We have not seen anybody assert authority. We saw the 99 of Tommy Ryan kind of lead and dictate this race. And right now we have Macklin out front, but so far you just haven't seen anybody that's really been the car. As we see the 18 jump out of line, we'll see whether or not Taraska can come up and wrestle the lead away from Macklin. Macklin, pretty comfortable in that slot as the Pied Piper, and he's doing a really good job on that inside line.
We mentioned on that last caution flag that Joey Bailey was running near the front of the field. Oh, there goes one to the inside. That's Gabo, and that was a close move in front of Josh Williams. I don't know how he made that work, but we still stay green. We still stay straight, but I think Josh Williams kind of backpedaled a little bit in that 95 after that close move as you look back from the 6 car all the way back in this pack. And there's some cars, you just saw that 9 of Bobby Wetzel kind of get a little bit free, kind of got a little bit light in the back end. The 51 of Justin Fuller is there as well. We're about halfway through this fuel run that these drivers would have. So we're starting to see those cars maybe get a little bit light and start to dance a little bit. Now we see a third line potentially forming. There's the 31 of Arnold to the outside, the 13 of David Comstock in the middle, and Doug Roth on the outside. So they're starting to dance around a little bit, Kevin. They're starting to get a little antsy, and they're starting to make some moves.
It sure looks like the cars are getting a little more nervous. You see a lot of them coming down and covering that yellow line to the left. You see a lot of them moving up to the fence when they come through. And yeah, you don't see a lot of side draft going on. These drivers are kind of holding their lines, but they're certainly holding a nervous wheel. I want to talk about two stories. One, our defending champion, Glenn Cambell, not going to make it 2 in a row. And you look at drivers like Boris Cook and Mike Kelly. These guys have got to be favorites for the championship, and they're sitting on the outside right now as the two of them are off the track. Mike Kelly, a strong runner, always a threat to win. He is out of it early here at Daytona Speedway.
But for the drivers that still remain in this racetrack, still plenty of laps to make a move, especially if you are one of the 30 cars that are on the lead lap and in the lead draft, led by Brian Macklin, Joey Bailey, Scott Stenzel, Tommy Ryan back up there. How about that 99 on the outside after being almost turned into the inside wall? Didn't get a whole lot of damage other than maybe having to come down and get a new pair of shorts. And he's still got that race car tuned up. He's looking pretty good right now on the outside.
Yeah, if Tommy Ryan could score the win here tonight, he's going to look back on that moment as one of those times when just an incredible moment of being able to have car control and get that car sorted out. And no harm, no foul, just going to keep planting that right foot and is pushing, the Stenzel car up to the lead right now. And Ryan has had a strong Camaro all night long.
And you mentioned off the top of the show that, yeah, it's Daytona. Yeah, it's race number 1, but you win and you're in. You're locked into the playoffs. And I think Tommy Ryan maybe has that in the back of his mind. That might be a driver that may not necessarily be a favorite when it comes to the championship at the end of the season. But if you can lock yourself in and maybe do a little bit of R&D and try to learn, and Tommy's been around this sim for so many years, maybe pick up some friends, and if you get that win, you position yourself to do things a little bit different, attack the season a little bit differently. And the 99 right now being pushed by Kevin Brown. He's trying to get back to the lead and lead some more laps for the first time in the second half of this race, but he's got Scott Stenzel now to the inside as they race down the back straightaway. Lap 91 being worked on the board, 30 laps remaining in the season opener.
Yeah, you look at somebody like Tommy Ryan, who asserts himself at this track when they go back to Talladega, when they come back here to Daytona, even when they run California and Michigan and some of those tracks where the draft is in play. People make notebooks. They recognize somebody who can run these high-speed tracks like Tommy Ryan. As they come across the slow number 19, they're all going to pass by cleanly. I think about that dynamic, and when we come back here next time, everybody's going to know that 99 is fast.
Yeah, they're definitely seeing it. We're starting to see a third group. Did you see Justin Fuller kind of poke that nose to the outside? Yeah. The 51 was kind of testing the waters a little bit there, as much as you can to the outside, just to see if anybody will go. There he goes. There goes Justin Fuller. He's got a little help from the 18 of Kyle Tarasca. First time we've seen 3 wide, and back to 2. Oh boy, we got to stack up in back behind. I think it was Bobby Wetzel or somebody back there in that inside line that stacked up a little bit, and we stay green, but it's disconnected, this pack back here.
Yeah, Mr. High Side, Fuller, he's going to go to the high side at some point when he decides it's time to go. He's the one driver who can run up there, and unfortunately he left Tarasca out to dry. Tarasca unable to find a hole, and he's going to slip back. He's trying to find a spot, but the whole field is kind of cruising by. Something opened, but the 43 filled it up, and he might be able to tuck in behind Roth there, and he does just that.
The close call I had mentioned was the 29 of Donnie Leah. Leah got turned by Nick Chambrone in the middle of the pack down into turn number 3. No harm, no foul. Donnie Leah continues to be almost to this lead draft. He's kind of hanging on back there behind Thomas O'Leary. But it could have been a lot worse than it was, Kevin. We stay green, and there goes Fuller's trying to the outside, trying to get a couple of more positions, but if I'm out there, do I want to go with him and possibly be hung out?
Yeah, so it's hard to say. I do see a different dynamic. We've seen this top group kind of get formed and drive away, and then there's a bunch of cars that have dropped off single file. I'm wondering if they're getting a little nervous about what they see up here. As a lot of drivers think, well, this is the time. This is when it's going to happen. Something's going to occur, and I don't want to be in that mix when these cars turn sideways and start going to the fence.
And don't forget, there is potentially another green flag pit stop here if this thing stays green. They could go potentially about to 10 laps to go, so like 110 or so. I'd almost think, though, that if you're starting to see this pack string out a little bit, you might start looking towards pit road, especially if you're near the back of the pack. We're getting some lap cars coming up here, and I think a lot of these cars are damaged or off the pace. Jeff Ryan, Trey Edson, the 45. To the outside as well, that is Mike Montesi. He is going one lap down for the first time, and the 44 of Glenn Cambell going a second lap behind the pace. But I think if you're that kind of disconnected pack back there, you're at the far end reaching guys like Chad Cole, Guile Brooks, Tim Johnston. I think you kind of control your own destiny right now, and maybe you can get some friends to come down to pit road with you. That pit road window is definitely open. I think you gamble. I think you have to at this point if you're back there 30th-ish.
Yeah, some of those drivers, though, are so far back that if they duck in, get fuel, come back out, they run the risk of possibly being run down by the lead pack. But if you're one of those cars, 10th, 11th, 12th, you're not right in that lead mix, you might be able to do it as, we're got one car completely sideways, and that's going to kick it off. Kevin Brown down to the grass. The 43 went sideways, and yep, Kevin Brown turned around sideways, but he's down off the track. No yellow yet, as Brown going to gather it up, but damage is done for the Brown. The number 93 is, you could just see that one car got sideways. The 43 turned sideways also. They both slid down into that runoff lane, and I think Kevin Brown, he made pretty good contact on that.
I'm not sure, and we'll bring Paul Strickland Jr. in this. I'm not sure what Jason Barham was thinking, because all the other lap cars were going to the outside. You saw Kohan to the outside. Jason Barham was to the inside, Paul, kind of snuggled up to the field, and I think that's what kind of sort of triggered this incident. We're still green, though.
Yeah, still green on the racetrack, and you can see as he was dipping down low, just really, really tough to make these laps here, especially by... It's tough to make these laps down on the apron by yourself, let alone when the pack behind you is 3 wide. So it's one of those common courtesy things. A lot of times the lap cars are going to go up on the high side, but a lot of short track races like to go down on the bottom side. So really tough call, miscommunication on the 83 parts, it looked like. Tough break for Kevin DeBrown, making his way all the way back up into the top 5 after losing a lap, missing the start of the race. But still green flag racing. Brian Macklin still up front.
I'm going to think that Barham was trying to stay down and just carried too much speed on the flat down there, Tim, and slid back up into the racetrack. I'm sure he doesn't feel good about that moment, but yeah, that's just the way it goes sometimes. Macklin heads into turn number 1. That's able to spread the field out a little bit. Joey Bailey right behind him with Chris Gibbey, Justin Fuller, Tommy Ryan, Nicholas Cohen, and Scott Stenzel running nose to tail. That top group has broken away, and that's good news for all of them. They've got to be happy with this as we're approaching lap 100 with 20 laps to go. Can these leaders break out and get themselves to be the ones to battle for the victory?
And then behind them, you have a 2-car pack of Tarasca and Daly who are going to catch Stenzel. You see that. And then in behind them, you got David Comstock and Donnie Leah. They're probably going to catch that pack. You got 3 of Williams, O'Leary, and Chambrone. They're kind of disconnected a little bit all the way back there. And then you got a little bit of a pack with guys like Chad Coleman and Joey Katina and E.J. O'Rourke. And then that's back to about 20th place. That's about 4 seconds between this pack and back to E.J. O'Rourke in 20th place. And then you got Doug Roth and kind of the rest of that pack that was kind of rotting in the back that kind of checked up for what happened in front of them. About 7 seconds behind from 21st on back. So that little incident definitely shook the field up. But now the question is, you're about 10 laps from coming down onto pit road. You got 20 laps to go in this race. When do you come down?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to run it all the way out. Quite honestly, if I'm looking at the possibility of a caution somewhere in there, I'm up front and I'm out in front of that caution. Unless it's going to happen in my group, I think I'm going to stay out as long as I can. Would you play it differently?
I think for the lead pack, I think you're right. I think for these guys that are out back that might not have a chance, like this third pack from 21st on back, and there's Richard Beasley on your screen. He's running in the top pack right now in position number 12. But I look back to this second pack, the Tim Johnston, the Shane Ewing, Anthony DeBarro on your screen, Chad Cole, Gael Brooks, the 26 of Jose Gonzalez. I think if you throw a Hail Mary, you kind of throw it now because you're disconnected so far from the pack. But you mentioned earlier, Kevin, about having friends to come down into pit road with. I think if these guys kind of team up and kind of say, hey, we're calling the audible to come down pit road, I think that kind of helps them a little bit because they're not gonna catch the pack doing what they're doing right now. Speaking of pack, in a battle for the lead, Joey Bailey has said it's time to go. The one to the outside.
Yeah, the one noses ahead coming off of turn number 4. He had a little bit of help, but his drafting help went out to the outside. As we see those cars right behind this lead group, they're going to tuck up and catch them. I was watching the Parker number 23 and the 10 of Beasley. They were following the 95, which was not as fast. They went out around, and now they literally have caught up to the back of that pack. By the time they get to the backstretch, it'll be a pack of about 12 cars.
You saw that number 10 of Richard Beasley on your screen a little bit earlier. He's got that Tide colors on that black car, and it kind of looks like a bullseye. And I think he'll have that bullseye on him on Saturday night as well when he's here for the Verdane SIM500 Super Speedway Series. One of the 4 that are running for the belt and the street stock ride. But up in front, Brian Macklin, Joey Bailey. Bailey now has the advantage on Macklin as the field comes by this time. 103 completed, 17 laps remaining in the season opener for the Transervice Cup Series.
Yeah, we look at Kevin Brown, unfortunately, from his incident, 7 laps down. He's not going to be able to do it, so he's one of those 4 drivers looking for that opportunity Saturday night to win the belt. And he's not going to get it here tonight. Not a good season opener for him, as Beasley has caught up to the back of that pack. He's got right in front of him Donnie Leah, who has not made a lot of noise tonight, but is sitting back there hunting that pack. You see David Comstock, who has been up front, but he's kind of mired back here in that. I have to wonder if he's looking for hopefully a good pit stop. And how about Thomas O'Leary, just hanging tough right there in that 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th position all night long.
Hanging out there, is still in contention to try to win this thing, but now it's, I don't want to say put yourself in a position now, because if you do and you end up running out of fuel, then there's that issue too. So I kind of like the way this is played out. I like the strategy. I like kind of anticipating. I like trying to figure out when everybody's going to come down pit road, and they're going to have to come down here fairly soon. They can't go 50 laps to the end. We know that. Somebody's going to have to come down pit road. Somebody's going to have to flinch, and somebody's going to have to make that first move down on the pit road. This lead pack comes by this time. They're not going to make it. 15 laps to go in this race. It's going to be the 18 of Kyle Taraska leading this lap. They're going to gobble up the 5 of Trey Edson one more time. Goes to the outside line. Field has no problem going to the inside of that lapped car. And Joey Bailey in the number 1 doing his job up front, trying to win this thing. These guys in this lead draft have put themselves in a position, Kevin, to win this thing. Now it's just a matter of having these 15 laps and the fuel window and the strategy all play out, and that's easier said than done.
Yeah, and we're getting down to it. 106 laps in the books. They're coming around to another slower car. Good news is these slow cars have yielded that outside lane, and for the most part, they've been caught at opportune times as they slide past the number 19. And how about Byron Daly in the 33, currently running in the 3rd position in the Valvoline Camaro? Just have not talked about Byron that much tonight, but when the chips count, drove his way up and is sitting in the top 5. That's where I want to be, Tim, at the end of this race, right there in the top 5, able to sneak in and see if I can get myself a victory.
one of the most underrated sim racers that's on this iRacing platform is currently second place in that outside line. He's calculated. He knows how to get himself to the front when it matters. Former eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver and was there for a reason. Byron Daly knows how to get this done. And if I want to draft with somebody, it's definitely Byron Daly, especially in this lead draft. And the guy behind him in Justin Fuller. I'd almost kind of be concerned if I was Byron Daly sitting there, because Justin Fuller knows how to win these things. We saw it earlier, trying to go the 2 and the 3 wide. He's calculated, but you see that sense of urgency as well.
Yeah, so now we have a pretty good mix of drivers up there ready to settle this thing. As I look at about 15, 16 cars right there trying to hunt for it, and another driver to keep an eye on. The one that is always a hard charger is EJ O'Rourke, currently running in the 17th position right off this lead pack. And yeah, 108 laps. We know any moment now these drivers, last caution was lap 72. They rode 1 lap or 2 under caution, Tim, which means they can only get to about 110. They're going to have to head pit road. So we have to wonder if some of these drivers waving their hand virtually down the backstretch to signal they're going to pit this time by.
Yeah, this is where all the moves begin to be made, and friends, and we did the 1 pit stop already, Kevin, to come down pit road, but now it's magnified. This is the money stop. You have to be perfect coming onto pit road. You cannot speed. You cannot hit anybody else. You can't get any damage. Don't flat spot the tires. You come by at a corner number 4 this time. You all stay on the racetrack. So next time by 11 laps to go, and I would anticipate they're getting near the end of that window for these drivers to come down. We already see a couple of drivers down, a couple of damaged vehicles also on pit road too.
Now you start to see some of these drivers up in the front get out of that top line. Everybody kind of signaling, I think this is it, because they got single file up through the first 10. You still have drivers up to about where Beasley is on the outside lane. I wonder if they're going to try and stretch it one more lap. Slow car to the outside as the field streaks by, going into turn number 3. And we suspect it's going to be feeding time at the zoo. Here they come off of turn number 4. Is anybody going to turn left? No.
They did not, but we almost had Chambrone back there in the 0 have a turn. There was a little bit of a moment back there for those drivers, but they somehow kept it straight. And I would almost think that you'd have to come down, I don't want to say as a pack, you talked about that outside line, maybe staying out on the racetrack might be a smart move if there is a wreck and you don't get caught up in it, but you might be out of the strategy per se when it comes to those pit stops and having to pit under caution and having to make it a couple extra laps. And oh, by the way, if there's a green-white checker, you need to kind of compensate for that for fuel. We'll see with this time by if they do decide to come down on the pit road. We're on the far outreaching stretch of the fuel tank, and here they come down on the pit road. A number of cars coming down, led by the number 18 of Kyle Tarasca. Look at Macklin storm that line, and Fuller was quick. I don't know if he was speeding or not, but he was quick.
You see multiple cars. Actually, I saw Fuller come to a stop in the Bud Light car. Not sure if he missed his pit or whatever the case was. Only 5 cars out of that lead pack decided to stay out there as everybody's fuel only here on this stop. They're going to go down and away. And good service by a good number of drivers. I see Gale Brooks in the 71 misses pit stall. He's backing up. But good, clean service for a lot of these cars.
And now keep an eye on the tail end of that pit road. Thomas O'Leary is leading this field, of what's left of it. And they all should be coming down into pit road this time. Josh Williams, Tommy, Ryan, Chad, Coleman, the 10 of Richard Beasley, Comstock, Leah down into pit road 2 and 3 wide, but they are down into pit road clean. This is the final round of green flag pit stops, the final leaders to come down into pit road. And now we'll see who comes out ahead of who on this final little run. The second pack that we talked about now coming down to pit road at the tail end, and everybody clean on.
I suspect Tommy Ryan will have the best run as he's actually taking right side tires, I think. I see the tires going on. He's down and away. That's going to cost him a little bit. He let everybody else in as the 95 looks like it's going to be the first car of that group. And now the interesting part will be, how will they all blend together? You have to assume, Tim, that those drivers that are out on the track and up to speed will overtake these drivers coming off pit road.
this is your lead tandem right now, and that's Brian Macklin and Justin Fuller, and they're coming by. There's O'Leary, there's Chad Coleman, and there is the 29 of Donnie Leah pulling back onto the racetrack, and that'll hand the net lead. Well, there goes the 95 of Josh Williams, and that'll hand the net lead over right there to Brian Macklin. So Macklin will be the leader, 51 in behind him of Justin Fuller. Then the second pack, or the second tandem, I guess, is Taraska and Bailey. In behind them, Byron Daly by himself, Josh Williams by himself, and then 4 other cars led by Chris Cabot, Chambrone, the 41 of O'Rourke, and the 29 of Donnie Leah. So if this accordion comes back together, and it should for the most part, with 7 laps to go, this is going to be the go time, and we almost had a couple of cars up in the wall, but now we talked about positioning yourself for a chance to win. Those familiar names, guys that work together like Macklin, Fuller, and Taraska have a good shot of winning.
Turn number 2, actually out in the middle of the backstretch to 0, down in the grass, hits the inside wall. Not sure if we're going to go yellow. Chambrone able to continue on, still green.
And there is your front 4 as they come by across the stripe. 6 laps remaining in the Transervice Cup Series season opener. And these 4 trying to settle it amongst themselves. And Byron Daly hoping for them to crack the throttle and have him back in this pack. And then Kevin in behind. They are single file trying to make their way up here. Led by Chris Cabot and the rest of the field in behind. But this is up in front. Macklin, Taraska, Fuller, and Bailey trying to settle it amongst themselves.
I have to assume Daly is loving the fact that these guys are racing up front, going side by side. Those top 4 really could have got single file and driven away from everybody else, but given the fact that they were running alongside each other, that has drawn Byron Daly up in the 5th place car, now in contact with them, and the 3 behind him running nose to tail may or may not run them down as laps are ticking off. These drivers hit the right pit strategy, and it might come down to these 5 cars.
Hit the right strategy, and we're flawless on pit road. We're about to see 3 more cars join them, though. Cabot in the 6th, the 95 of Williams, and the 41 of E.J. O'Rourke. I think this is going to be an 8-car battle to the end of this one. Chad Coleman and Thomas O'Leary and the rest of the field might need a little bit of help. There's Chris Cabot in the 6th. He is up to the back bumper. He's got Williams and O'Rourke behind him, and now it is a battle of 8. They come by this time, led by Kyle Taraska, and they will have 4 laps remaining.
This is where you wonder whether the momentum the 95 had trying to catch up to him is going to help any one of those. It's the 6, the Cabot, he's to the outside lane, and he's tucked right in, wasn't able to drive up around, but has certainly helped that outside lane come forward, as now it's a dead heat going down the backstretch for the lead.
8 cars, any one of them have an opportunity to try to win in this Transervice Cup Series season opener, lock themselves into the playoffs, and maybe have an easier start to this 2021 season. Cabot out of line, Williams trying to go 3 wide, Byron Daly there as well, trying to find out who he's going to dance with to the end of this one, and E.J. O'Rourke in the back bumper. There goes the outside line, and Justin Fuller may have faked the 18 car out. Kyle Taraska by himself, and now Fuller goes back to the outside line. Fuller, I think, might control who wins this race here.
Yeah, I think Fuller's just trying to make it his own as he comes through. His car is really nervous coming up there, and the 95 didn't make a friend with the 6, but he's trying to get up there to be one of those top cars. Should these cars come together, it could be anyone in this pack. As laps are winding down, now Fuller has the opportunity to the outside. The 18 ducks to the bottom. Taraska opens a door for Fuller. Can Fuller get a push from Bailey and get a challenge to the outside?
They lost momentum. Parachute out on that outside line. They're going to fall back to position number 3. They'll come by this time with only 2 laps to go. Byron Daly has the 51 of Fuller to the outside. Cabot and Bailey, and here comes Macklin. This is Macklin's opportunity to try to win the season opener. He'll go to the outside, 2x2 stacked 3 deep. E.J. O'Rourke and Josh Williams want a piece of this as well.
You have to wonder if that move is going to win Macklin the race. A very risky move to jump up in front of Fuller, but now Fuller right to the back end with Bailey pushing him. That top line has momentum, and the top 2, will they? Nope, Fuller's going to stay out there. I think Fuller is destined to try and see if he can get himself the win. He's got no friends here. He's going to try and get himself the victory.
I think Justin Fuller controls this finish. They will come by and take the white flag. This race will be official if they get to the stripe, and they will, led by Brian Macklin. Last lap at Daytona. Who is going to take this thing away? There's a disconnect to the inside. Josh Williams makes the move in the 95. Side by side, and oh, by the way, O'Leary's bringing 3 more friends along with him. This is going to be big.
Yeah, a couple more cars have joined into the back of this pack, but I think they're a little too far off the Tommy Ryan 99 and the 08 of O'Leary, too far back. As will the outside lane be able to get the run right now? Macklin leading the charge. He's got Tarasca right to the back bumper. They've cleared a slow car in front of him. What will happen as they come off of turn number 4 for the finish?
Coming off 4, Brian Macklin holds the outside. Sideways he is. Here comes Fuller. Little contact lap car there. He gets turned. Who is it at the line? Brian Macklin is scored as the winner in that finish. I'm not sure what the lap car was doing to the inside, but nevertheless, Brian Macklin sideways through the tri-oval, got turned by Fuller, and still somehow wins the Transervice Cup Series season opener. Joey Bailey, Justin Fuller, top 3. Josh Williams, Chris Cabot, your top 5. And you're taking a look at the finish now, and I don't know what that 0 car was doing there, but it's still Macklin going to victory lane.
Unbelievable. Joey Bailey almost snuck down on the bottom below the yellow line to avoid all that carnage and got himself a second place. But Macklin won backwards going across the line as the 18 was up over top of the hood. Incredible finish. And just, well, what can you say about that? I have no idea how slow down, Kevin. Macklin kept it straight, Tim, because he was dead sideways coming off a 4 with a body check, and somehow that car straightened up. I just don't know how he made it back there to the start-finish line.
You see it there in the replay. Tarasca he gets into him off of turn 4, nearly turns him. Then Fuller goes to the inside, has to come up because the lap car is there, turns Macklin, and Macklin somehow with the back end of the car is going to come across and end up winning this race. It's unbelievable, but it's super speedway racing. That's sometimes how it plays out. Look at the 1 car of Bailey. Bailey's able to get to the inside. There is the 30 coming across, and that outside car of Justin Fuller, that's a 3rd place car because Bailey to the inside actually picks up position number 2 out of this. And through everything coming through here, Kyle Tarasca rolling over at the end, comes home in 7th. E.J. O'Rourke in 8th, Tommy Ryan in 9th. Thomas O'Leary, by the way, finished in 6th. And Chad Coleman is the first driver out in 10th. Richard Beasley was there with them. And then this rest of this top 20, Josh Parker, Anthony DeBarro, Jose Gonzalez, Shane Ewing, Chad Cole, Joey Katina, David Comstock. They were kind of in the same draft together at the end of this one. Donnie Leah, Eric Arnold complete your top 20.
Yeah, you know, we looked at Chambrone. I don't know what else he could have done. He saw the lead pack coming. He was down on the yellow line. He went down below the yellow line and was racing in the grass. So I don't know, Tim, if it's fair to say he had any impact on this. He tried to get out of the way. They crashed themselves. They never really made any contact with the 0.
It still comes into the finish of this one. I'm sure race officials are probably going to sit him down and say, hey, that probably wasn't the wisest thing to do as you look at the final finishers in this race. Guys like Bobby Wetzel, Tyler Dalton started up front, 5 laps down at the end. Scott Stenzel was there at the end and kind of faded out at the end of the finish of that one. Kevin Brown, tough break for him. Jason Barham in the 83 had his issues. And Jimmy Coleman comes home in position number 40. We'll see. There's Boris Cook, Nelson Rivera, and Scott Simley at the end of the race, multiple laps down, just shy of halfway being out of this race. We'll see if we can't get our winner on the horn and ask him how he did it this evening. Brian Macklin is your winner in the Transervice Cup Series. And Brian, I've seen you wheel a race car before. How the hell did you save that at the end?
Buddy, I have no idea. That was wild. You know, all of us Aftermath cars were up there racing for the win at the end, and it was a wild battle. And, you know, we tried to set it up so that we could race it out like that. And I knew that somebody was going to make a move on the last lap, and I just had to make sure I timed the block right. And unfortunately, it caused the big wreck. But, you know, we're coming down to the last lap, coming for the win. You got to do what you got to do.
So not only did you have to look out the back and see Kyle and Fuller there and battle for the win that way, but you also had the zero car on the apron. What was going through your thought process coming off of turn 4, seeing the checkered, seeing a lap car, and trying to hold your teammates off?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't see the lap car. I was not looking out the windshield at all on the last lap. I was all in the mirror and just watching what those guys were doing and trying to be prepared to make the block that I needed to make to go for the win. And I went back and watched the replay and saw that lap car was there and was a little curious as to why he was there. But no, I wasn't paying attention to him at all in that last lap.
You get a $100 bonus for winning this race. It's a big win. You've got many big wins in your sim racing career. This has to be near the top, and you're locked into the playoffs. You won the season finale race last year in this Transervice Cup Series. So I know it hasn't all sunk in yet, but there's a lot for winning this race that goes on down the road.
Oh yeah, this is huge. I mean, this is my first race with Transervice. Glenn and Transervice signed on to be my sponsor for the year, so it's really cool to win this race in my season opening race with them. That's awesome. Obviously, like you said, we're locked into the playoffs already. So for the next 25 races, we can just focus on trying to get a few more of these wins. And as far as is this one of the biggest races I've won, it absolutely is. I mean, look at the roster that is in this Cup Series. Some of the best drivers in all of sim racing are in this series, and to be able to win at a level with some of these drivers, it's just out of this world. And it means so much to be able to even have a chance against these guys, let alone actually come away with the win.
Who else do you have in this race car? Who's on the team? Who helped you get this victory tonight?
Well, as I already mentioned, Transervice is a big one. They jumped in this year and stepped up to be the sponsor. So I'm so excited that I was able to get the win for them here tonight. Got to thank all my teammates. I know Kyle's a little upset with me for the last lap move, but I think he'll look back on it and realize that, I was just doing what I had to do. But all of us Aftermath cars, we worked really well together tonight. So I got to thank all my teammates for us sticking together through 119 laps. And I got to thank you guys for coming in, doing the broadcast. It's going to be a heck of a show to go back and watch. And got to thank all the sponsors and admins at SIM500 for giving us the opportunity to do that.
Brian Macklin, the winner in the Transervice Cup Series season opener. Congratulations, bud.
Thanks, guys. I'll see you next week.
So there's your winner, and we'll head it over to Kevin England, who has caught up with our second place finisher. Kevin, he was there all night. Joey Bailey, impressive finish.
Yeah, we love logistics, and the Ford coming 0.008 of a second. Joey, you're watching it on the big screen here, so close to getting the victory here. Didn't look like it off of turn number 4, but you had to see the opportunity when all those guys came together at the start-finish line. We'll see if we can get Joey's microphone straightened out here so we can get a chat with him. But Joey Bailey, second place after running all night long, right up there in the top. Let's see, Joey, can you get a connection with us here? Yeah, it looks like not going to be able to get a chance to speak with Joey at this point, but he came down off of turn number 4, was running about the 4th or 5th position. The top 3 cars came together, went down to the apron, snuck through the grass, made a little contact with the 95, might have slowed him up, could have been the result for a victory or second place, but a second place in the season opener, it's a good run, and everybody will be happy with that after a lot of competition here, Tim. Great race and an exciting finish.
And I'm excited to talk to a man that I know has no shortage of words. How about Justin Fuller coming home in third? And Fuller, we talked about it coming down to the end that you would almost be the control car that determines who wins this race. It wasn't you at the end, but talk about that finish, trying to maneuver around not only your teammates, but a lap car coming to the checkered flag. What was going through your mind in those final few feet?
I mean, I don't think the lap car really had too much of an effect on it, to be honest with you, because we had just got there. But I was overheating and I was having a hard time, and I was trying to tell these guys, you got to just give me a lap to cool down. I'm not going to be able to push either one of you. Yeah, it was, I kind of felt like the guy that's just going to do all the work for him and push whoever. I just needed to get a good push myself to get the lead, but I don't know. A lot happened there at the end of that race.
You still come home with a top 3 finish, and I know you don't race for points. There's 24 races left to go, or 25 races left to go before we make the cutoff. It's too early to talk about that. You're going to win yourself a race before this thing is all said and done, but leaving Daytona after leaving Speed Weeks, is third place really what you wanted?
I mean, obviously we all want to win, but the problem is that I don't want to say all 43 in here can win this race, but a good chunk of us in this field had a shot to win this race, and taking home a third is nothing to be upset about. It's disappointing. We were able to win the Clash. I think we finished second in the Duel, second or third, and so we've had a good speed weeks, no doubt. I think I win $5 or $10 regardless for finishing third, so it's not a waste by any means. But it was good to have, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, top 4. All of us are affiliate teammates right there. And then we had Kyle and EJ down there, 7th and 8th. So it was a good showing for the Aftermath Motorsports crew. And yeah, hopefully we'll win a couple races before it's all said and done. I'm sure we'll get a couple. We got some good tracks coming up. So we'll see what happens.
You mentioned the team aspect about how important that is, and those technical alliances, along with that team championship that's run this season with the duos. That looks strong, but you mentioned those upcoming racetracks. Let's peer into the crystal ball. What racetracks are you most looking forward to parking this 51 in Victory Lane?
Oh, for sure what stands out is Vegas, hands down. Auto Club or Vegas, one of those two. Homestead, not so much. Auto Club maybe is a good chance, but Vegas, if I don't win that race, I'll be very disappointed. As good as I've been there in the past, so Vegas and Phoenix, both those tracks will be pretty good for me.
Sponsors on this race car, personal comforts on the hood. Who else do you got in this car? You mentioned the teammates. Who else makes it happen for you to get to the virtual racetrack?
Oh, I got to thank Transervice for sponsoring the series. Thanks for putting this on, coming back again for, I don't know, this is the 3rd or 4th season in a row. Obviously, I got to thank Personal Comfort with Scott Stenzel, better price. I have their product, and I love it. It's the best sleep I've ever had. Thank all my teammates in Aftermath Motorsports. Thank you guys for putting on the broadcast. I'll for sure go back and watch this back tomorrow. Having both Kevin and yourself, Tim, in the booth, I'm sure it was a good show. Thank Joey Katina for all he does for this league. You saw it tonight. Great racing. Yeah, there were some hiccups, some lap cars that I'm not going to say anything about the zero car. I don't think he did anything wrong. Some people have a different opinion on that, but there was one lap car early in the race that really screwed everything up, and that was unacceptable. So we got some work to do to clean things up, but I'm looking forward to this season. I think we got some good things coming, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Race 1 in the books for Justin Fuller, P3. Justin, congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Tim. Have a good night.
And second place, we'll see if we can't get that connection established, Kevin, with Mr. Bailey in P2.
I think we got it sorted out. Joe, you got a copy on me? Joe Bailey?
Yeah, you guys got me?
There you go. All right. Hey, do you know how close you came to winning this event tonight?
Unfortunately, I saw that it was like 8/1000ths of a second. I had my hopes up. I saw they started wrecking coming in a line, and I saw a gap and just kept my foot in it. But no, I wish it, overall, I mean, we had a good run. Had a bunch of my teammates, the guys I'm affiliated with, helping me out all day and to even just get me in the show. So I had a blast. Wish we had a better run on that final lap down the backstretch, but I was overheating way too much, and I wanted to get to the finish. I didn't want to blow up and lose all those spots. But yeah, I mean, we'll take that run, especially in our debut here.
Yeah, as you come off of turn number 4, you were a little bit back from the top 3. When they came together and I saw you shoot the inside, I wonder if that contact, a little rub from the 95 might have been the difference. But when you're down there on the apron, you really can't see to your right whether or not you were passing those cars, can you?
Yeah, well, I saw the 30 got hooked, and I completely forgot the 95 was on my inside. I know I was trying to side draft him to just get 4th coming off of 4, and then that kind of just erased my mind when I saw them all start to get squirrely, and they all started wrecking right in front of me, and I just turned left to avoid it, and I thought I had them. I really did, but I guess he just held on by that little bit. But like I said, I mean, to be that close kind of sucks. But I mean, that's definitely a good way to start our season, especially being a rookie in this league.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of drivers had their trials and tribulations tonight to come away with a top 5, let alone second. Good way to start the season. How about it? Anybody want to say hello to or give a shout out to from a sponsorship standpoint?
Yeah, well, definitely got to thank UPS, the Building and Systems Engineering program there. Arch Radiator is on my. He's always been a huge helpful. M&O, Bob Emmons, and Kyle Taraska. Fuller, Macklin, Josh Williams, Scott Zenzel. He helped me get in the show last week. They all kind of put their arms around me to just, help get me comfortable here in this league, and definitely a good result. And can't wait to race here for the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we have a good showing this year.
Yeah, Bob Emmons, the Amsoil guy. That Bob Emmons.
He's actually from southern Jersey. He used to be the spotter crew chief for Dave Marcus.
There you go. Okay, I know another Bob Emmons that's in racing, and Arts Radiator is local to me. So cool. Well, hey, congratulations. Good way to start the season and head into race number 2, and that close, but I'm sure you can head out of here with your head high. Congratulations on a second place finish tonight.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
There you go, Joe Bailey, second place finisher. Tim, it was a night of happiness, a night of sadness. As it always is with these things, you got to have a heartbreak for Kevin Brown and the problems that he had. And a couple of these drivers, some of the stronger drivers, didn't get a good result here tonight. But yeah, just congratulations to Brian Macklin. He was there all night on a tear and got himself the win.
I think Fuller kind of summed it up nicely. There was a good race at the end, lots of strategy. A couple lap cars played into effect during the race. Whether there's opinions and juries that are out, I think, on some of those. But it's race number 1. It doesn't matter what series you're running. Sometimes you're going to have some hiccups, and we saw it there definitely this evening. But congratulations to Brian Macklin. Very exciting finish. We complete race number 1. We'll come back again and do it on Monday nights, and it's great to see the Transervice Cup Series finding a home here on Vidane TV. But Paul, we've got some upcoming events, and we got some short track racing coming up the next couple of nights with RBR and TCM. We've got the Fatheads Cup Series on Wednesday. We've got all kinds of exciting racing action. Neps is back. What do we got?
I love me some super speedway racing, but we've done about 87 of them in a row here on Vidane TV. Gonna shake things up just a little bit. There you can see it 7 days in a row here at Vidane TV. Tomorrow night, the RBR Maritime Group, 2 races to go, 7:30. Single car qualifying starts tomorrow night. The Fatheads Cup Series, the newly rebranded Fatheads Cup Series, picking up a sponsor over there on Wednesday night. They're going to be running then at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. A little bit of double dipping action for the NEPS League, the Shift Marketing and Design Grand National Series from the New England, Pennsylvania iRacing Group. They're going to be racing Thursday night at 8:15. The NEPS Super Trucks Friday night at 9 o'clock. And Championship Night. I am so pumped for this race. The SIM500 Vidane Racing Super Speedway Championship. 4 drivers. Kevin Brown, E.J. O'Rourke, Richard Beasley, and Mitchell Hunt going for the championship. Whichever one of those 4 drivers finishes best in that race at the iRacing Super Speedway wins that beautiful Pro-Am Belts Championship belt, and they will be driving a street stock at Stafford Motor Speedway, courtesy of Rent a Race Car, on June 11th at Stafford Motor Speedway, the night before the debuting SRX Series from Tony Stewart and Ray Evernham. They're making their debut race the very next night at Stafford Motor Speedway, so going to be camping out that weekend, having some adult beverages, hanging out with some sim racers, hopefully, some real racers, and lots of different fans and folks. And really want to thank everybody for tuning in here tonight on Facebook, over on Vidane TV, the SIM500 group as well. Tim's Corner Motorsports jumping on board, and as well as the Transervice LLC. They jumped on and allowed us to stream out to the Facebook, so shout out to anybody that's over there watching, and as well as the YouTube and all that good stuff. So do want to have you make sure you check out all the social media channels, the Facebook, Vidane TV, YouTube, same name, Twitter, same name. We're on them all week long, and it's always helping us out when you guys give us the likes, the shares, and let your friends know that you were just entertained by this thing called internet racing. And we do it right here live on Vidane TV just about every single night of the week. And you can see the schedule up on your screen now. 7 days strong. We're running probably 4 to 5 races a week all the way throughout the month of May, and we still have a few dates open. We're kicking off the Tim's Corner Motorsports, another season of the weekly racing series, kicking off next Wednesday night at Nashville Speedway. Is that what it is, Tim?
Nashville Fairgrounds.
Nashville Fairgrounds. That's the word I was missing.
Yep, this Wednesday night. It's going to be exciting. We have 50 paid entries for that race. We're still waiting on a couple of other drivers that may make an appearance, but we've got 50 strong that are anticipated to qualify on Wednesday night. So it could be fun trying to qualify for 26 spots and then the 100-lap feature. You're not going to want to miss Wednesday night.
Absolutely, and you can always visit vidane.net/events to get the full calendar of events of all the different leagues that we've got going on here. And you can see Sunday night we've got the debut of Sim Racing Unleashed. Very cool to have those guys jump on board with us on Vidane TV. But before we get to Sunday, we got to get to Tuesday. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for the RBR Maritime Group, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll catch you at the track.